Looking at the daily chart of the DXY, was this just a fake out below the upward trend line, and will we be pushing up to all-time highs? We're going to talk about it in this week's weekly Forex forecast, but first, here are some winning trades from last week's daily market breakdown videos. So looking at the weekly chart here of the DXY, you guys know I've been talking about this weekly supply at 110.66 for quite a while now. We almost contacted it, but obviously we saw that one red week 2 weeks ago on the DXY. But to me, it looks like we just kind of got a fake out to the downside, and we will be still pushing up to that weekly supply. That is what it's looking like to me. Like I showed you guys earlier on the daily chart, we had this beautiful picture perfect upward trend line on the dollar chart, and we actually broke below it. Looks to me like we did base out here, finally hit that bottom around this little buying area right there, and now we are pushing back up. So to me, I think this was kind of just a fake out and to get kind of traders to be bearish in the dollar, and to me it looks like we are going to be pushing back up. I hate when this happens, but it's out of our control, and I try to tell everybody in my group and just everybody in general, things are under control. A fake out like this, it's out of our control, right? You could have been reasonably shorting the dollar here. Ultimately, we are pushing back up. It's more evident of what's taking place on the 4-hour chart here. So on the 4-hour chart, we had that 4-hour downward trend line, and we got a beautiful move off of this demand zone at 107.05. You guys know last week I was pointing out this 4-hour demand zone, nice support trap right before it, which is what I love to see. Almost no drawdown from that zone. So not only did we get a nice move off of demand zones are being respected. Not only that, the downward trend line on the 4-hour chart has now been removed officially. So that is definitely a positive sign. I'm not going to be super bullish the dollar until we can either get a move off this demand zone, create some sort of upward trend on the 4-hour chart, or if we can remove the supply. Then at that point, if we start to see trends to the upside, that'll really indicate, hey, I think this was just an overall fake out on the dollar, on the daily chart, and we are going to be pushing back up. So as far as the DXY goes in the 4-hour time frame, there's two things I'm going to be looking for. I want to see a nice move off of this demand zone at 107.44, or if we push up and break this supply, that's going to be another bullish sign, especially if we create a demand zone there. We can maybe look for longs in the dollar if we do get that demand zone. Now, if you are bearish, I don't mind waiting for that supply at 109.12 to maybe look for shorts on the US dollar pairs. Why? Well, because that supply zone was responsible for moving this very nice upward trend line on the 4-hour time frame, so it's a very key area of supply in my opinion. But like I said, I think we are going to be going up. That's just my gut feeling on the dollar here. So even if we do start to roll over, there's the demand zone to get past. And look, if we do break this demand zone, both of these zones, we're going to have a new continued 4-hour downward trend line. And then maybe this quote unquote fake out, it was actually just a fake out, and we're going to be going back down. So I'm going to be monitoring this 4-hour demand zone, this 4-hour supply zone, and to see if we can create a 4-hour trend to the upside, which would indicate that we are going to break this high on the dollar. Onto the forecast for the Euro US dollar. On the weekly time frame here, you can see we clearly have tons of profit margin down to our target weekly demand at 0.99. And when I say target, I mean long-term target. I'm not saying if you took a short up here and you're still holding that you should be holding 100% of your position. I'm not saying that at all, but I am saying that when we get down here, I think it's a high odds chance we do rally from this zone, which means we still have profit margin to the downside on the euro to look for shorts. Now, on the daily time frame, we had this daily supply come in control, and we got a beautiful move off the supply. It looks like it was just a fake out above the trend line. We talked about this supply zone, beautiful bait drop at 1.04, and we are clearly getting that move down. Now, there is a daily demand zone here, and look, this demand zone is significant. It broke downward momentum. It did not remove supply, so it's not the best zone ever, but it is a daily demand zone. I'm not saying we're going to get a move off this zone all the way up here, but what I am saying is I think we will probably hesitate to get up here, maybe see a small move, and then eventually roll over. That is my gut feeling, but I do feel the need to point out this daily demand at 1.031 because I think we will hesitate here, and maybe at that point you should look to take a little bit of profit off of your shorts, and it could be even a time where you maybe, and just like we could have been doing at this daily supply, you could be trading other euro pairs at this demand zone as well. We actually caught a beautiful trade on the EURUSD JPY from the daily market breakdown videos. If you want to trade alongside myself and the community, join the Diamond membership for exclusive access to our daily market breakdown videos and catch trades like these. Plus, dive deep with our full-length forecast covering 26 plus markets, our interactive Sunday Zoom sessions, and personal homework to sharpen your strategy. And you'll also join our private Discord group for direct access to me and unlock a complete library of A to Z video lessons to master supply and demand trading. Don't miss out. Let's level up your trading. Links are in the description down below. So with this daily supply in control and with profit margin down to at least 1.03, we could be looking for shorts. So with that daily supply in control, I like the 1 hour time frame here. So what we have basically is a 1 hour downward trend. So we have some options. As long as this downward trend line is being respected, which means we are not breaking above it, 5-minute time frame shorts are going to be completely fine. With profit margin, like I said, down to that daily demand, as long as there's profit margin, there's a trade available in my opinion. So have this trend line from here to here, monitor it. As long as it's holding, 5-minute time frame shorts are good. Now also, right above the trend line, we have this clear area of resistance with a beautiful supply zone above. This supply zone over here, it not only took out an opposing demand zone, but it also took out a trend line. So it's a very significant area of 1 hour supply. And what you are seeing here, this is essentially a 1 hour confirmation supply zone as we come off of the overall daily supply. So if, let's say we push up here, let's say you take a loss on a 5-minute time frame trade, we break above the trend line. Basically, from this trend line to this supply, we need to basically hold off on trades, hold off on shorts, wait for the 1 hour supply to be hit, and then we could look for shorts. So that is our 1 hour confirmation trade on the Euro US dollar. And like I said, day trading shorts are fine there as well. And look, the overall 4 hour supply zone is a little bit safer in my opinion at 1.047. So really, you could just be waiting for this 4 hour supply and be looking to trade that. And then look, if we break above here and we break the high, then we could look for longs again. But as far as I'm seeing right here, we have supply zones up here to short to at least down to 1.031, down to that 4 hour daily zone down there. We could maybe even look for a long trade off that zone there. But in the meantime, it is shorts all the way here on the Euro US dollar as we pull off of that daily supply. On to the forecast for gold XAUUSD. We basically just confirmed that that was a fake out to the downside, and now we are going to all-time highs here looking at the weekly time frame. Now on the daily chart of gold, we have beautiful trends to the upside obviously as well. We do have a little demand zone down below at 27.19. It's decent. I think if we do get a deeper pullback, I think that would be the target area to look for maybe a swing trade in at 27.19. That's obviously a bigger pullback, but let's go down to the lower time frames and see what's taking place. The 1 hour chart, I'm not even going to go to it, but we do have a nice 1 hour upward trend. So it honestly on gold here, just to keep it simple, it is longs all the way. Doesn't matter what time frame you're trading, the daily, the weekly, the 4 hour, the 1 hour, 50-minute, 5-minute, 1 minute. It is longs all the way due to the nature of the very good trends to the upside. Now we do have an updated trend line here. I did not update it yet. Let me just update it now. So this is the trend line we will be monitoring on the 4 hour chart. So definitely have this trend line on your chart, and as long as this trend line's holding, the day trades are going to be good. So which means a 15-minute or lower, 15-minute, 5-minute, 1 minute, those day trading on those time frames is going to be good as long as that trend line's holding. That's why you guys need to copy this trend line on your charts. It is the proper trend line. It's the proper way to draw the trend line. We're not cutting through candles, no BS rules. It's a rule-based trend line, so make sure you have it. Now, if we get a pullback down to this 4 hour zone at 27.68, it's not bad. It is definitely not my favorite zone. I don't love the move away. I do prefer the one down below, but that is the nearest zone to look for longs off of at 27.68. Now, if you don't feel comfortable with just an entry, stop loss, and take profit, what you could do is look for a day trading confirmation on a 15-minute or a 5-minute time frame inside of that 4 hour zone. What I hope to see happen is maybe a break below this trend line, a pullback down to this 4 hour demand zone at 27.27. I think it's a great zone. I like it. Beautiful rally-based rally. Don't love the move away here either, but it's definitely decent. And what I like about it is the clear area of support right before the zone, which kind of acts as liquidity. So that is the dream move I'm looking for here on gold that I think will be the highest odds trading setup. But at the end of the day, guys, it is longs all the way, especially on day trading time frames, because look at my 4 chart layout. Trend to the upside on the 1 hour, 4 hour, weekly, and the daily. So in my opinion, longs are going to be much preferred, and you could be patient, wait for the 4 hour zones, look for day trades in there. Whatever you want to do, it is longs all the way here on gold. Now on to the forecast for the USDJPY. Looking at the daily chart first here, you can see, unlike the DXY, we haven't broken below this daily trend line. We are currently doing it right now. However, at the time of me recording this video, guys, let me just move this. You can see we have an hour and 35 minutes left, so I don't really want to call it removed just yet. What I think we could be seeing on the weekly time frame is that pullback down to this weekly demand at 151.23. Because if you just look at it, let's say you're a large institution and you have the idea of you want to push price, break all-time highs on yen, and then take profit up above. What you could be doing is manipulating people, push price back down to weekly demand, re-enter long, add to your longs, whatever you want to do, and then push up. So they could be using this weekly demand as kind of a refuel at that weekly demand zone. So I think that's what we could be seeing, again, is that pullback down to that weekly zone. And we do have some evidence of it. Again, the daily upward trend line has not officially been removed, so the evidence isn't great. However, on the 4-hour chart, we have clearly seen demand zones be removed. We got nice moves off this demand zone. Then we ended up removing it with this 4-hour supply zone there. Beautiful trade off that supply zone. 3-to-1 not hit, but it's still holding. And what I will say is there's no zones here that I'm looking at except for all the way up above at 158.31. Could you look for a short up here? I guess it's a little bit risky in my opinion. We kind of already got that high odds short off that supply zone. So what you could be doing now is monitoring this downward trend. If we remove it, or sorry, as long as it's holding, 15-minute time frame shorts are good. I wish I could point out this supply zone to you guys right now, but it was pointed out throughout the week in daily market breakdown videos, so I'm not going to point it out now. It's already tested, right? And by the way, if you guys are enjoying this video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you are new to the channel. We just did another donation to my local hospice charity, $70 this past month. All thanks to you guys and your likes and shares, so continue to do so. Much appreciated. Thank you so much. So again, as far as this 4-hour time frame goes, it's shorts all the way. If we do, let's say we blast through the downward trend line and this supply, if we have a 4-hour demand zone there, I think it's a good trading setup. So that could happen throughout the week. Again, I'll have it on the charts for all of the paying members, but right now I don't see that, right? So as long as this downward trend line's holding, I think that pullback down to that weekly zone we were just talking about is possible. But like I said, if we break it, then I think we're going to be going up to the all-time highs and we won't be pulling back anymore. So as far as the yen goes, I don't see any fresh zones that I feel comfortable pointing out to you guys. But like I said, downward trend on the 4-hour chart, in my opinion, it shorts all the way with profit margin down to at least 152. So in my opinion, shorts on day trading timeframes are the highest odds thing until I mean, even it's until we can remove that downward trend line in the 4-hour supply, then we could look for longs. But for now, it is shorts all the way on the USDJPY. On to the forecast for the GBPUSD. Looking at the weekly chart here, you can see we have supply and demand. We are definitely closer to the supply rather than to the demand. But the big question is, will we be pulling back down to demand or will we be pulling up to supply? The only way to guess that is to look at the lower time frames. The daily chart, I know it's not a lower time frame, it's just lower to the weekly. Okay, give me a break. So on the daily chart, we had a nice daily downward trend line. The downward trend line was removed, and it was removed by this demand at 1.235. So in my opinion, this is the key area, the key zone that could hold up price. If we are going to pull up to that weekly supply, in my opinion, this demand zone will probably be respected. If we break this demand zone, at that point, I would expect to break the low, and then we would continue down to that weekly demand zone. So how do we trade the pound right now? Well, if you're bullish, we could wait for this daily zone to be hit at 1.23, look for day trades and even swing trade longs inside of that zone. That is one option. The second option, if you are bullish right now and you absolutely have to get in long, we do have this 4-hour demand zone in control. I really don't like it. I'm actually going to draw another one. You know what? I'm not going to do it right now. But I don't love it. I mean, I liked it at first, but look how deep we've tested it, right? Every time we've tested it, we've gone barely touched it, deeper, even deeper. In my opinion, this is going to break. So I would honestly hold off on that 4-hour demand zone and then wait for that daily zone. If you are bearish, let's say you think I'm completely wrong, we're going to go down, which, I mean, I didn't even really say we're going to go up. I'm just saying it's possible. We do have that downward trend here on the 1-hour time frame, so you could be technically looking for day trading shorts. What I do like is this supply above. I like that it's a clear resistance area kind of right before it. I'm going to actually change the way I draw it, something like this in my opinion. So there's a clear resistance area right before our supply. I love that at 1.248. So if you're bearish, if you think that the daily chart's going to continue to go down. That's really our high odds selling setup up above at 1.248 at that 1 hour supply zone. So definitely have that one on your charts. And that's really it. That's the only zone I feel comfortable pointing out. And like I said, we're going to have to monitor the daily demand zone as well to see if it can hold or if it's going to break. But in the meantime, I like that 1 hour supply zone if you, in fact, think that this daily downward trend line break was just a fake out. On to the forecast for the USDCAD. We have trends to the upside in the weekly. We have trends to the upside in the daily chart. Clearly, we have some demand being respected as we broke the previous supply. The issue is the lower time frames here. What I will say, just to be upfront with you guys, it's a pretty bad looking chart, but on the weekly and the daily, we have trends to the upside. So honestly, however you like to trade this, whatever strategy you trade, doesn't have to be supply and demand. In my opinion, it's really longs, but honestly, yes, you guys see my upward arrow here. We technically have a trend to the upside with these highs that we just made. But I mean, overall, just look at this price action. It is so sideways here. So it's just not great for trading, to be trading in this range. Yes, we did break above the high, but again, it's pretty bad in my opinion. So I really want to see nice clear closes above the zone and more consistent looking trends before trading this one. But you know, as far as zones go, I absolutely have no zones to show you here on the USDCAD right now. We did have one here on the 1 hour chart on the bottom right screen, but it just blasted right through, and that's just due to this choppy, pretty bad price action. So honestly, again, it's longs all the way, however you like to trade, but again, it's one of the lowest odds pairs I've seen to trade. If I was opening my charts and I wasn't even looking at, if I wasn't doing forecasts for you guys, I would look at this chart and be like, wow, this is ugly and terrible. I'm moving on. It would take me 1 second to move on, but I'm just stressing enough. This is a good lesson for you guys, right? You open a chart, you see this, it's probably not time to trade, in my opinion. Even the S&P 500. Go look at the S&P 500 chart on the 4 hour and the 1 hour time frame. It's awful. It's whippy price action. There's no trend. It's sideways junk. So honestly, it's not great. But in my opinion, it's longs if you're trading on the day trading time frames. But again, I would definitely be preferring to trade other pairs right now. On to the forecast for the AUDUSD. The past couple weeks, we did really start to break below the lows here. And honestly, there's nothing down here that really stands out to me where I say, oh, there's a profit target right there, or there's a demand zone we could look for longs off of. In my opinion, the Aussie is almost in free fall mode. It doesn't mean we are going to get that, but what it does mean is that we will probably continue to push down, and I have a gut feeling that the trend line breaks we are seeing is just that fake out. We will be pushing back lower. Obviously, I could be wrong. I'm just going off of my experience that I think this was just a fake out, and even on the 4 hour chart here, there's not a lot to go off of, in my opinion. We are currently reacting again for the second time off this 4 hour demand zone here. We called out this 4 hour demand zone in the daily market breakdown videos, and we got a beautiful trade off of it already. So it wasn't a time to be trading it again, in my opinion. So as far as trading the Aussie goes right now, what I want to see, we actually, hold on, give me a second here. We had an upward trend line. That trend line was removed. We have a supply zone up here. Sometimes it takes me like 3-4 times to look at a chart and really see what's going on. So as far as the Aussie US dollar goes right now, there's two options here on the 4 hour time frame, which is what I'll be monitoring in my opinion. So we have the 4 hour demand zone into control. We don't want to be trading that. It's already tested, so we don't want to be trading it. So we either want to wait for this demand to be removed, leaving us with a 4 hour supply zone to get in short at. That is option number one. Option number two, we have this supply I just drew at 0.627. Beautiful basing, picture perfect in my opinion. That's the basing I would pick every single time for my trades. We could be looking for shorts off of that if you want to jump the gun on shorts. If you think that that daily break to the upside was just a fake out, that is our supply zone. And again, you could look for day trading shorts in there if you don't want to take the entire zone, if you want to get confirmation. Those are the two options on the 4 hour chart on the Aussie US dollar. Now here over on the 1 hour chart, we had a demand zone here, just a ton of whippy price action. This is when I look at this chart, immediately the first thought in my head it screams manipulation, right? We had a break of the trend line, was looking good to be shot right back down. So in my opinion, it is a manipulation move, and we do have this 1 hour supply zone above we could see a move off of at 0.625. So definitely have that zone in your charts. I think it's decent. I think we could see a move off of it as well. It's a pretty obvious pivot point to me, so it might be best to have a wider stop, but I think it's a good zone we could see a move off of here on the AUDUSD. On to the forecast for the USDCHF on the weekly time frame here. We mapped out this high last week in the last week's weekly Forex forecast. I want to see that removed because then we'll have an upward trend on the weekly chart, which would be really, really bullish for this pair. Why I think we are going to remove that is because if we go to one time frame lower, which is the daily chart, we have a daily upward trend line here. And not only that, so the trend line is connected from here to here. We got a beautiful move off that trend line. So in my opinion, with this, as long as this trend line's holding, it's longs all the way, especially on the 1 hour, the 4 hour time frames. And as far as the daily chart goes, we could wait for a pullback down to this daily zone at 0.886. I'm not saying we are going to get that pullback. In fact, I see no evidence of that pullback just yet, but I will say if we break this trend line, I think we have a good zone here we could look for longs off of. Or let's say next week we blast through this supply. If we have a new daily zone there, we could look for longs off of that like that. So that's another thing I'm going to be waiting for here on the daily chart of the USD Swiss. Now on the 1 hour time frame, we did kind of break below this 1 hour upward trend line. It's not removed yet. So I will say as long as this trend line is being respected, 5 minute time frame longs are good. And I like pullbacks down to 0.902, down to this little rally-based rally demand that broke the downward trend line. So it's longs all the way in the day trading time frames as long as that trend line's holding, and pullbacks down to that 1 hour zone is also good as well. Now inside that 1 hour zone is inside of this 4 hour zone down here. We pretty much already got a move off of it. It's barely tested. So if we do get a pullback down to that 4 hour zone again, it could be good for longs, but in my opinion, you're going to want to look for day trading confirmations there in a 15-minute or a 5-minute time frame because the zone is tested. Like I said, it's a tested zone, so we want to be looking for confirmation if we're going to be trading there again. If you're bearish, the only way I'd be shorting this at all, I like to point out both longs and shorts because yes, you could get in long down here and then short up here. You could be trading both sides. If you're bearish, the only supply zone I'd be trading is up there at 0.913. It removed an upward trend line. It's a very significant supply zone. So that is the supply we're going to be waiting for to see if you are going to be, that's the supply zone we're going to be waiting for if you are bearish. And also, if we remove that supply in the 4 hour chart, any 4 hour demands on there, boom, we can get a long trade off that zone, which we'll have for the members. Last but not least, we are on to crude oil. The past couple weeks, we did get a break above the trend line, but the theme of this video, the theme of the last couple weeks is just a trend line fake out, right? We push immediately back down, and we actually have a weekly zone down here that I did not notice. But in my opinion, it's a decent little weekly zone. If we're going to move off any zone, it's going to be that one. So there's still profit margin to the downside, down to 71.41, where we can then see a move to the upside. And on the daily chart, I was actually a little bit surprised. We pretty much blasted right through this daily zone. I at least thought we'd get a move off of it. It removed 2 supply zones, but that's just a great example and a great lesson for everybody watching this video. Even though I think the zone was going to be great, it failed. So sometimes the best zones fail and the worst zones work. So that's just the reality of trading, and I love a good lesson like that. So with that daily zone out, honestly, it's looking to me like we're going to continue to go down. Now, on the 1 hour chart, we have clear downward trend lines being respected. We have supply zones being respected. So what I will say is as long as this downward trend line on the 1 hour chart is being respected, it is shorts all the way on the 5-minute time frame. So day trading shorts all the way as long as that 1 hour downward trend line is being respected. If we do in fact get a pullback up to this supply zone at 75.25, I think it's a great area for potential swing trade to trade down to that weekly demand zone that I was just pointing out. So you definitely want to have that supply zone there on the crude oil chart on the 4 hour time frame. So at the end of the day, it is shorts all the way right now, especially if you're a day trader, down to that little weekly demand zone at 71.41 that I pointed out. So crude oil not looking bad. It's going to be, the big test is going to be what happens at that weekly zone that I just drew. So in the meantime, it's shorts all the way until we hit that weekly demand. If you want to watch the full-length forecast and get my daily chart analysis and daily market breakdown videos, join the Diamond membership. Links in the description down below.